of my super show where the first 4 minutes have no fucking audio. Because I'm an idiot. Jesus Christ, I've been rambling to nobody. Luckily, no one's here to not hear me. Holy smokes. Jeesh. Thank you, Dempsey. I appreciate your comment. It's always cool if you're around. Wish you were around more, but I know you got stuff to do, life to live. So yeah, the first 5 minutes of this show is inaudible. That's not my first episode of this show. I didn't say much of note. I just kind of rambled while I filled in everything on Kick and Twitch. But the main thing is I did not finish my 32 team analysis. I got to 22 different teams. The videos are still here on YouTube. You can check them out. I wanted to still talk. I didn't talk about the AFC or NFC East, and I didn't talk about the Cardinals, the Arizona Cardinals, or the LA Rams out of the NFC West. I talked about every other team, did a video on it. But since a lot has changed since those videos were made, I started making them in July and tried to make them every couple days I could. Didn't quite get to the end of the season or to the beginning of the season. The season starts in a couple days. Plus, there's a bunch of topics. I was debating, should I live record this or do a live? I figured I'll do a live and just clip this out for different topics. There's a lot of thoughts on the NFL. Sorry for the first 5 minutes. That just sucks. I don't expect too many people because not everybody here on this channel really likes the NFL or sports. And don't get me wrong, while I am a major NFL fan, especially my Lions, I am starting to feel like sports days may be numbered. They're getting a bit too greedy. They've all signed this deal with ESPN. ESPN could not be worse for sports, especially when you talk about sports talk and the way people think about sports and the way people act about sports. It creates so many bots. And it's just such a hard, like, I don't see why anyone watches ESPN's coverage. I haven't watched a ESPN show outside of the actual sports being played. I've watched games that happen to be broadcast on ESPN. But if you're talking about like a Sports Center or one of those little talk shows, maybe 15 years, they're worthless. They're hot take garbage, and they create so many hive minds that if you have an opinion that is outside the hive mind, you sound like a hot take artist, right? Somebody accused me of this in one of the videos I made. I made a statement, and there was a little facetiousness with it, but I said Eli's my favorite Manning. And it's like, oh, you know, people say stupid things. It's just stupid to think that Eli could possibly be better than great Peyton. Even though Peyton is the only quarterback in history to have more interceptions during his Super Bowl run than touchdowns. Peyton Manning is the only quarterback in history for that to have happened. And the other time, he was arguably worse. And another player, Brock Osweiler, should have started. And, you know, an element of quarterback, and this may come up because there's another subject I want to talk about with Jalen Hurts. But he made his defenses worse. If you caught a pick against Peyton Manning in practice, you could get cut. So he, because of his ego, literally made his teams worse. And because I know these things, and these aren't reported ESPN, I didn't even get into the HGH or the potential sexual harassment at Tennessee. I'm leaving those alone. But you can look those up if you would like. But because I know these things, I have a different opinion of Peyton where those stats kind of don't mean as much because I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you made your defenses worse actively. You played terrible in a lot of the playoff games that you played. You threw picks in the Super Bowls that you lost. And by the way, even though he was a great regular season quarterback, the reason he would lose in the playoffs so often is because defenses and great defensive coordinators figured him out. And he only knew how to kind of play the weird Peyton Manning, everything's in my head type playing. But, like, he was figured out by the Legion of Boom. He said they were only running like 7 or 8 plays. And so all they did was work on their condition, and they were able to beat the hell out of the Broncos, even though he had this historic year. And so these are the reasons I don't hold Peyton's stats that high. I don't hold him in as high a regard as the ESPN would have you. And So any criticism of him, and in comparison to his brother, where everyone thinks is worse, his brother threw a lot of picks. You know what I mean? Eli threw a lot of picks. So I'm not trying to give Eli a pass, but he is, at least in the playoff runs that he won championships, he was considerably better than Peyton in the playoff runs in which he won championships, and that's not an opinion. That's subjective. And because I hold that in higher regard, I kind of hold Eli in higher regard. I don't necessarily think he's better, quote unquote, but I'd rather, if you talk about which, if I'm rooting for the team, would I rather a guy put up a bunch of stats but need to get carried to the Super Bowl, or a guy actually contribute to that Super Bowl and not be the statistically best guy? I'd much rather him. I'd much rather Eli. So that's what my thinking is and what I said, but it sounds like a hot take if you don't know all the things I mentioned, and if you don't listen to ESPN, if you don't listen to anyone other than ESPN. Just like it's a hot take to think Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback, right? Or maybe, I actually think Jalen Hurts is better than some of the people who are in the quote-unquote top 4. I think the consensus top 4 right now, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and for good reason. For good reason, right? But I kind of feel like Patrick Mahomes is his own tier. And then you have the next 3. And I don't see them actually better than, or I would rather have than Jalen Hurts. Even though, yes, statistically, a lot better. Well, you look at Josh Allen. Jalen Hurts didn't even go for 3,000 yards last year. But he does have a year in recent years, and I could look up the reference, football reference. I think he went for 3,200 yards fairly recently. And Josh Allen went for 3,700 yards last year, passing plus all the rushing stuff. So you're like, he's not that far off. You do the combined rushing and passing. But all that notwithstanding, I think Jalen Hurts helps you win more. In fact, this is something I want to talk about before we start getting into the predictions and previews and everything. I saw a guy, and I wish I could remember the creator, and he was trying, because a lot of people don't like Jalen Hurts. A lot of people say, well, he was gifted everything, and because he was gifted everything, he's not good. And I don't believe he was gifted everything. I believe he had to he's dealt with a different offensive coordinator every year since he was in college, which is still continued, by the way. And we'll get into the coordinator thing when I get into the Lions. But he's went to a Super Bowl before this year. He's a winning quarterback. He does what you need to win. We tried to outlaw one of the things he does best multiple times in that tush push, no matter what you feel about it. The quarterback sneaks, one of the oldest plays in the fucking NFL and football playbook. The reason he's so good at it is because he works hard with his physical fitness and his physical strength. He can squat like 500 plus pounds, and he has this strength. That's why he's able to win. So, in any event, it was compared like, hey, if you look at Anthony Richardson's situation with the Colts, you look at a lot of talent he has around him. He has 3 receivers that went for 800 yards last year, right? One of the best running backs in the league in Jonathan Taylor, one of the best offensive lines in the league, a decent defense. They've had better and worse years, right? But there's a lot of talent on that Colts team, and he hasn't really panned out. And there are arguments to be made. I don't think the argument was he should be as good as Jalen Hurts, but the argument is he should be better with all the talent. If it was just about the talent around you, he wouldn't be in the situation he is where he's not starting anymore. Now Daniel Jones is starting, which I agree with. And there were arguments that weren't so brain dead, but people kept trying to argue, well, Jonathan Taylor versus Saquon, which, yes, Saquon's last year, and Saquon overall is a better player than Jonathan Taylor. But 2 things. One, Jonathan Taylor is still a top 4 running back. You know what I mean? Especially as far as rush, I could check to see where he really is, maybe top 5. So most teams don't have a running back as good as Jonathan Taylor. And 2, Jalen Hurts didn't when he went to the Super Bowl last time. So this is not the argument to be made. You can make arguments about, hey, Jalen Hurts has always been better in college. Okay. He had better development where he didn't have to come in and play immediately. Okay. There are other things to compare, but the fact that there was this brain dead, I'm like, what? Like this isn't the argument to be made. Like, yeah, you're right. He's not as good as Saquon, but he's still better than most players. He's still better than most running backs. I just didn't get that argument. Didn't get it. Didn't understand it. I just think people, they don't fucking like. They don't like Jalen Hurts. They don't like the Eagles. I get not liking the Eagles. I get it. They can be obnoxious. As a matter of fact, let's talk about the Eagles. Wait a second. Where did I go? Where am I? There I am. All right. We are going to do predictions. I'm not just going to rant. We are going to do predictions. I want to do I'm talking about the Eagles. I talk about Jalen Hurts. Can't talk about the Eagles, which I wanted to. I don't know if I should start here or my jank ass. Where do I start? You know what? Let's start here. Let's start my division thing, right? I think the Eagles will win the NFC East. I never got to talk about the NFC East. I have it like this. I have the Eagles first. I have Washington second. I have the Giants third now. And I have the Cowboys last. That trade, that Micah Parsons to Green Bay trade, which didn't actually change how I feel about Green Bay. And I'll tell you why when I get there. But it just, I don't see how Dallas is going to win that many games now. It really killed what I think of Dallas. I don't know what they're doing. I don't understand trading for George Pickens and then trading Micah Parsons. You know what? That's not true. I do understand it. I don't understand it if the point of you owning a franchise is to win games. But that's not the point of the Dallas Cowboys. The point of the Dallas Cowboys is to be good enough to get people to pay for the games. They're business. They're not a sports franchise. And that's the reality of, unfortunately, a lot of sports franchises. They have a brand. They're one of the most popular brands in sports. If you have an exciting offense, with two good receivers like they have with Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, you can generate a bunch of hype, especially if you already have a strong enough brand like the Cowboys do. You can sell a lot of tickets to those games, and you don't have the pressure to win because they don't have the defense. So that's why you make those moves, and you save money by having not paid Micah Parsons. Business-wise, it makes sense. If you're trying to win games, though, it doesn't. And as a result, that's why I got the Giants over them. I probably would not have done that had I made videos of the AFC East or NFC East earlier. I would have probably put the Giants as the last place team. But there's a lot to like about the Giants. I know a lot of people got excited about Jackson Dart when they saw him in the preseason, and that's fair. Even though I don't think he's going to play, I ain't going to say the whole season. I'm not sure. Russ, love him or hate him, Russell Wilson can throw the deep ball, and they got Malik Neighbors, and they got some promise on defense with Abdul Carter, Dexter. What do they call him? Sexy Dexy. They got a decent defensive line. Dexter Jackson. What is his name? I'm so sorry. Dexter Lawrence. I'm sorry, my brain. But they got some decent defense. They got the worst schedule. I don't know how they drew such a terrible schedule. Toughest schedule in the league. But I still think they'll be a little bit better than Dallas. Then you have Washington. A lot of people are just expecting this sophomore slump. They'll compare it to C.J. Stroud. When I get to the AFC South, I'll explain why that really wasn't a sophomore slump. But I think Washington's still going to be good. Now, they did trade Brian Robinson. There's a lot of hype about JCM, Jacoby Crosby Merritt, a.k.a. Bill Crosby Merritt. Especially if you're in the fantasy circles. He got a lot of hype at late fantasy. I think a lot more fantasy drafts are probably done. I got mine done on Sunday for my last one. But a lot of people hyped up JCM because of them trading Brian Robinson. And he's a guy who was a 7th-round pick who probably would have been a 3rd-round pick if he didn't have all these NCAA issues. And a lot of hype about him. And then you still have Austin Eckler. And, of course, you have the rest of that offense. They did trade for Deebo Samuel. A lot of people think Deebo is just a one-year wonder. He gets a chance to redeem himself in Washington. I know a lot of people also thought he looked a little bit like your boy with a little too much weight on him. We'll see how that goes. And then, of course, the Eagles. The Eagles, going to my bracket, and this bracket is jank. These are my playoff teams. I'll break it down more. The Eagles, I think, will have the number 1 record in the NFC. I think they'll be the number 1 team in the NFC. And this bracket is not perfect, right? It's an inelegant bracket, but we'll get into the team. You can already see these are the NFC teams I have. These are the AFC teams. I'll break it down further, and then we'll do the weekly thing. So the NFC East, to start off that, because we didn't talk about them, I have the Eagles first. If you want a record prediction, I think the Eagles are going to win between 12 and 14 games. They still have the best team. They still have the best pretty much everything. They did lose some players from the secondary, some players from the pass rush, but they already had young players almost ready to take those spots. So I'm still picking them as one of the best teams. I'm going maybe 13 wins. They'll win the NFC as far as the regular season. Washington, now they may regress a game or two. I don't think they're going to win 12 games again. But a solid 11-win team. Solid 11-win team. The Giants, probably 7 wins. The Cowboys, I think like 4 or 5, man. I think they're done. I think they're cooked. Maybe they win 6 games, but I think they're cooked. The Giants are going to be a tough team. I think both the Giants and the Jets, they're going to both not make the playoffs. They're probably going to lose more games than they win, but they're going to have solid defenses. They're going to be kind of scrappy teams. They'll give New York something to cheer about and to look to the future with, but they won't be quite good enough to make the playoffs. But they'll be better than they were last year. That's my prediction for both New York teams, including the Jets. And then let's go over to the AFC East, because I didn't get to that team or that division either. Shout out to the Jets. Shout out to Matt from Five Ball Productions, who he'll do his podcast later on today. Former, maybe future partner in Culture Cry Fighting. You perverse. I'm straight. And the Jets, I have them in 3rd place in their division as well. This division is a little tougher to predict. Now, it's easy to predict the winner. I think the Bills, because they have probably the easiest schedule, especially amongst tough teams and good teams, they probably have the easiest schedule. I think the Bills are going to win the AFC. There's our bracket. They're my number 1 team there. They got the bye. I think they're going to win the AFC. Oops. Sorry about that. And then you have the Patriots. Boy, did they spend a lot of money on that defense. And then you have Drake May's 2nd year. Now, could the Jets actually overtake the Patriots? Come on, move over. Jeez. Maybe. I think I like Aaron Glenn. Obviously, he was my defensive coordinator for years as a Detroit fan. Even though there was a Fire AG. I remember Fire AG. I was in the Reddits back in 2022, 2013, or 2023. Sorry, that happens to old people. The years get messed up. You remember the last number, not the other one, so I'm old. In any event, 2022, 2023, Fire AG. I remember that. But Aaron Glenn led a defense that, had guys like me on it with all the damn injuries we had last year. Practice squad players, was able to get them to the playoffs and able to get them to a top 10 defense. Now he has a lot more talent with the Jets. I don't think he has more talent than the Lions had when healthy, but we're not healthy. We're still not healthy. Ali McNeil's not going to be playing until the fall. Late fall, mid-fall, almost the damn winter. In any event, I think the Jets, with all the things that New England has done, if Drake May is who we are hoping him to be, they should be better than the Jets. But there's a path for the Jets to be the 2nd-place team in this division because they have a running game. They have a running quarterback. A guy, Justin Fields, who I felt never got the fair shake he deserved in Chicago or Pittsburgh. He's a guy who's run for 1,000 yards in the season as a quarterback, which is a fairly rare feat. And they have the makings of a team that will run the ball, stop the run, and win a lot of games off of that. I can see them winning 8 games. I can see the Patriots winning 9 games. The Dolphins, man, they're hard to predict. I have them as the worst team in the AFC East right now. But, man, they still have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. and an explosive potential offense. The issue, the issue was one is Tua's health, Tua's ability to stay healthy for a 16, 17 game season. He did it once though; they made the playoffs. If he does it again, are they a better team? Maybe. They did trade away part of the secondary. They traded away Jonnu Smith, who was a star tight end. They do have Devin Achane. I always fuck up his name. Achane is a good running back, at least as a receiving running back. Lot of love in fantasy. So they got a lot of speed. So even though I have them as the worst team, could they be the second team? Maybe it's a little bunched down here. I still feel like the Jets should probably win about 8 games. Patriots should win 9, maybe 10. But a lot of that is just we're assuming Drake May is going to be good. And Drake May is going to be able to lift this team up in his second year. A lot of that's assumption. And a lot of it, hey, they put a lot in that defense. That defense should be a lot better. Right? Then, of course, the Bills, I think, number one, they should win a lot of games this year. They should win about 13 games. So, again, I have them winning the East, going back to my jank-ass playoff bracket, which it took me forever to fucking find a playoff bracket, by the way. So, you have the Bills as number one team in the AFC, Eagles number one team in the NFC. That's my breakdown of the NFC, AFC East, because I didn't do it in individual game form. And I haven't been looking at the forum, not the forum, what the fuck is it called? The chat. And Jake D, a wild Jake D appears. Hey, Jake D. It's been a long time. Then we got Forbidden Ruin. And yeah, your dad was actually here before the stream started. But I kind of missed him too. But I appreciate you being here. Interesting how you had this set up. Yeah, this is my first time doing something like this. So I figured you're a Steelers fan. Steelers go to the bottom. You vote that they are the bottom. Wow. They'll be the last in the division, 25-26. I have the Steelers as the second team in the division. I'll tell you, let's go to that division now, since you brought it up, Roy. And I'll tell you why. Now, listen, initially but here, actually, I did a video about them. I said they'll either win 6 games or they'll win 11. It's all dependent on what the fuck happens to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had top 10 yards production and top 10 touchdowns with the Jets, but that was not the offseason story. The offseason story was he's falling off, which he is. He technically has more talent offensively when you have DK Metcalf, the offensive line. Listen, I don't really think much of Breece Hall as a running back. They'll have Caleb Johnson and was it Jalen Ward, and they'll have a better defense than they had with the Jets. He should, if he's able to recreate what he did with the Jets in this Steelers situation, they should win 11 games because they still have, obviously, Cam Ward, TJ Watt. Secondary is still a little long in the tooth, but they still have a good defense, and they have a quarterback that should. But if he falls off and or he gets hurt, they will be the last in that division. I've got him stuck at 2. I got the Ravens, man. If the Ravens, you know what I mean? It's like they could. You're initially before I did the video, I said, man, they're gonna be the last team. And then you look up Aaron Rodgers' stats, you say, wait a second. If he was a top 10 quarterback as far as yards and touchdowns last year, and he's on a better team, they should be good. Plus, they got DK Metcalf. They should be good enough to win 10 or 11 games. But then you also have in this division the fucking Bengals. They should be good enough to win 10 or 11 games. They have the best offense in the league, right? With Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, obviously Joe Burrow, and then everyone's hyping up Chase Brown, who was one of the best running backs the second half of the year. They should win 10 or 11, even though that defense is shitty trash. They should win 10 or 11 games themselves just off the strength of the offense, right? So this is an interesting division. I don't know how they'll keep them upright Pittsburgh management doesn't, man. That management, man. I don't know what the management's doing in Pittsburgh. That's a team. You know what Pittsburgh's biggest problem is, and a lot of teams have this problem. They don't want to rebuild. I thought they should have parted ways with Tom. I thought Tomlin should have went to a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars or maybe the Panthers. Even though I think the Panthers might have had their coach now, but should have went to a different team a couple years ago, a team that really could have appreciated him a little bit more and let Pittsburgh rebuild. Instead, he's stuck out there and it's still not winning playoff games. And I don't know. Their unique management case. It looks like don't they have a newer GM? Because it looks like he's being a little bit more aggressive than they have been in the past years. I understand your frustration as a Pittsburgh fan. I understand the frustration with Tomlin. The Lions haven't even been that good that long, right? But losing that second, I'll tell you how mad I am about us losing that game against Washington and being one and done, man. That pissed me off. That's why I don't feel too bad about losing Ben Johnson. That's because of how bad that felt and almost wanting a head to roll. I understand why you guys want Tomlin fired now. It's like, that sucks. To go to the playoffs and not win a game sucks so much. You're like, somebody got to get fired for this shit. So I get it. Oh, man, the Pirates. Bro, the Pirates are I talked about the Cowboys being a business and not a franchise. Bro, the Pirates, they have spent so little relative. I saw a statistic about how rare it is for them to make the playoffs and how little they spend as a baseball team. That's basically a scam. They're almost defrauding the city of Pittsburgh. Because remember, you pay for the stadiums. They're defrauding the city of Pittsburgh. That shit should be fraud, what the Pirates do to Pittsburgh. I really feel bad for you guys. They're a farm team for the MLB. They literally are. That shit should be illegal. Same with the Oakland A's, which now they're moving. But, like, you're not trying to win. You're intentionally not trying to win. They're not. They're not trying to win. So there's a lot of teams you can say about MLB. Minnesota, they're not trying to win. They're scamming the city. It says the Pirates, Penguins, Steelers, Pitt, and Penn State all depend on a 1% city tax. They can go 0-17. They can go 0-17, still make the payroll. That's fraud. That's, man, that's fucking fraud. That's what I hate about sports. How they defraud these cities. I've been making a fuck ton of music, having posted like usual. You interested? Oh, yeah. Well, hey, feel free to post links, man. I know what you meant. 0-17, they still make payroll. So that's fucking fraud, bro. That's fucking fraud. Long term, I think sports are in trouble because they're so fucking greedy. They're paywalling all their content off. And I said this in one of these shorts or one of these videos. They're paywalling all their content off where you need to not only have ESPN, but you need to pay for all these other fucking apps. And they're lucky they still have fans who are willing to pay the taxes for those teams to stay. I see that Spurs are trying to get a stadium. That's why I did my video based off of. And there are people who are against them getting a fucking stadium for good reason. I should probably do this with a camera. Ooh, it's not that one. Me. But there are people who are against that shit for good reason. Because it's like, we got to pay how many hundreds of millions of dollars? And you keep all the profit? What happens when you don't have a generation of sports fans? Well, they'll leave. Well, let them leave. What if you got to get the city to vote on it too. In 20 years, when you have generations who didn't watch any sports, they didn't grow up watching football because their family couldn't afford all those packages. They didn't even care to pirate it, right? Because maybe their dad couldn't figure out how to pirate it, so they didn't see it pirated either. And they just didn't watch football or basketball or baseball because they didn't have a family that could pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars to watch all sports. Sports were free growing up, and now they're not. And so how are you going to have, you just talked about how Pittsburgh gets to basically eat off of that tax. and a lot of these teams are, that ain't gonna happen if you don't have a city full of sports fans. In 20 years, when most Pittsburghians haven't watched, didn't grow up watching these sports, there's going to be less support for that. And they're going to be in a lot of trouble when that day happens. But they got to make that bed and lay in it before we get there. Before we get there. I'll read your comments, then I go back to the different division. Yeah, they're a farm team. Skeens is killing. Skeens caused the fucking Tigers' downfall. We had an interleague game with him. He cooked us, and Tigers ain't been right since. None of these sports teams can make it out to help the city's 1% stadium tax. No, most of these teams cannot make it without the cities paying for the stadium and doing all this other shit. And yeah, Skeens is cooking it. He'll probably be either a Dodger or a Yankee or something next year. But yeah, look at the Pirates. They pick up a prospect. The city tax pays for the salaries. And when the team sells the player 10, 15 million. Sorry, I got to look because my camera thing is right in the middle, so I can't see. I didn't think this through. Let me see if there's another way. Oops. Well, actually, I can do this. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, look at the Pirates. They pick up a prospect. City tax pays their salaries, and when the team sells a player for 5 to 15 million plus, which they can get more than that, plus a draft pick and player trades, pick the Skeens to be traded next 24 months. He will be. In the 20 teams, the Penguins and Steelers wanted to leave Pittsburgh. Wow. Well, they all want to leave. That's how they get the tax money. If you threaten leaving, these cities, oh no, we can't have you leave. And finally, somebody asked, the mayor of San Antonio said, I need an independent review to see would we actually lose money if the Spurs left. And there was a little pushback, but she had some support too, because not everybody gives a shit about the Spurs. It doesn't help that the Spurs haven't been as good since Tim Duncan left. And so there were some people who was like, yeah, we do want an independent review. Is it actually economically better for us to support the Spurs? Do we get that money back? It's often said, oh, yeah, with all the restaurants, with all the stuff that's around the stadiums. And yeah, but is that true? Or is that just what people say? Do the numbers really math that way? We'll find out. We'll see if she ever gets that. But yeah, Skeens will be traded. He probably can be traded this offseason. He's super good. Used to Jabba Lama said I used to drive a few miles, hop on the Amtrak, go to the Angels game, get a couple beers for $50 in the 90s. The only team I've seen try to be cheaper was the Suns, the Phoenix Suns, tried to lower their concessions recently, but no team wants to do that. They just want to milk the fan dry. I will say this. We went to Astros game in the playoffs. The concessions weren't that bad. The tickets were decently priced, but the concessions they were expensive, but they didn't care. Now the Texas game, the concessions were hitting and the tickets were hitting. But the baseball wasn't killing. That was a playoff game. None of the Pittsburgh teams play a penny out of pocket for the players, taxpayers, and that's sick. Sick money. And I'll load up some of these things. We'll do an intermission because they already had the tax money flowing. That's sick. Some of these cities are over a barrel for the teams. And I didn't know how. I don't know every single city's individual situation. Oh man, yeah, it was to extort new stadiums and arenas. Give us a new stadium. We moved away. Look what they did to St. Louis. The LA Rams moved to St. Louis because LA wouldn't give them a new stadium. Then they gave a new stadium. The fucking Chargers left San Diego, moved, I don't know if it's up to LA because I'm not a Cali person. I think it's up. And then the fucking Rams, I don't know how much the city of St. Louis, not like the city of St. Louis could do something with hundreds of millions of dollars. However much they paid for that stadium, doesn't fucking matter. The Rams went back to LA. So they spent hundreds and hundreds of millions on this fucking stadium for no fucking reason. Because they left. Said Pittsburgh, Allegheny has some fucked up tax rates. That's sick. That's sick. And we will get to some music. I'm glad you've been producing music. I've been trying to finish this project to just finally release it on Spotify and shit, which is going to be a fucking nightmare. And then finish up the second project, too. Finish up the second project. Once I'm gonna do these different divisions, and then maybe play the music after that. And if you got more, maybe play more. We'll see. So let's actually get back into these divisional talk. And I'll get to your comments. 1% taxes, 1% arena, 5% of music taxes on top of the state. Golly. Taxation is already motherfucking theft. Fuck that. So wait, if you're so you're basically paying 14% tax on something? Cause you said 8 plus 5 plus another 1, that's 14.25. Cause it's 0.24. Yeah, 14.25% tax. Fuck that. Oh, I'm so glad I live in Texas where there's no sales tax, or there is sales tax, but there's no like state taxes. Like I'll get taxes taken out of my check for state. They do got shitty property taxes, which is gonna suck when I can actually buy a home. Let's get back to these divisions. What did we say? We did the AFC East, NFC East, and then we were kind of talking about the NFC North. Wow, Pittsburgh is getting over. Those teams are getting over on that poor city. That's a goddamn shame. But you know what? We'll see if they. You know what? 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, when you've had a lot of fans who can't afford all these stupid-ass packages to try to watch the game, and they just got rid of Stream East. Did y'all see that? I guess I can say their name. It's harder to watch Stream East now. They got rid of it. Went to the city limits and bought a $1 video game with $1.15. Golly. Well, way to make sure nobody lives in the city limits of your city. What the fuck is that? And sorry about I'm looking at the way where can I put, oops, not this. I'm trying to figure out where to put me. Maybe put me up here. Okay. Yeah, maybe this will work. Because there's like a little logo on the side. You don't see me. So anyways, we talked about a couple of these divisions. Let's go back to the North. Even that pissed me off, and I don't even live in Pittsburgh. That's just scammy and scummy as shit. Baltimore should still win this division. They're arguably the most talented team in the league. Steelers, I'm keeping them at 2. Could they fall to be the worst? Yes, they could. Everything's dependent on how old Aaron Rodgers is. If he gets hurt, or if he gets hurt mid-season, maybe they sit in the middle. Maybe if he gets hurt, they'll fall off. They'll be one of the worst teams in the league. They'll be one of the worst teams in this division. If he stays healthy and can keep the production that he had last year with the Jets on this team, they should be good enough to make the playoffs. I think I have them. Are they in my playoff bracket? I can't remember. It's the AFC. I do have them in my playoff bracket. But this will be the Bengals spot if I'm wrong. The Steelers spot, that will belong to the Bengals if I'm wrong. Or maybe the Colts. Let's go to the South now. Let's do a quick record. They should win. The Bengals, the Baltimore Ravens should win 12 or 11 games. They got not the toughest, they got kind of a mid-schedule. They should win 12 or 11 games. Steelers should win, if healthy, like I said, I had 11. If not, 6. So they're kind of like a, wild card or where they actually end up. But we'll keep them here in the second spot. The Bengals really should win 10 games. And they did re-sign Trey Hendrickson to a kind of a shitty deal for him. I don't know why he took it. But he re-signed to at least a 1-year deal. I think it's only $29 million. That was actually a very friendly deal. I still don't think the Bengals are going to do much. That defense is so bad. And that offensive line looks terrible. So I'm downgrading them to 8 or 9 wins. I had them at 10 wins when I did my video. That offensive line does not look good, man. The Browns, man, no matter how way you cut it, they're going to win like 4 games, man. They're not going to do much. You said 10-7? Maybe 10-7. But I will tell you this: Pittsburgh more than likely will be last in the AFC North next season because this is Aaron Rodgers' last year, no matter what happens. Maybe he did more yoga. He better have stretched out that Achilles, man. Policies in the sanctuary city, Pittsburgh. Oh boy, this is where you get. This is why people say Democrat ran cities because it's like what the fuck. I gauge other teams based off player. Sometimes they just lose easy win. Yeah, that's a huge thing for a lot of these teams. You look at a team like the Bucks. They got swept by the Falcons, but they beat the Lions, the Eagles. Who else did they beat last year? What is it? Either the Bills or the Ravens. They beat a bunch of good teams, but they got swept by the Falcons. If they would have split with the Falcons, they would have had a better, you know what I mean? Or like Seattle last year, where they know for the 12 and this home field advantage. They were 3-6 or 3-5 at home. I can't remember because now we have 17 games. Sometimes 8, sometimes 9. But they had a better road record. They were like 7-1 on the road. I think they were 7-1 on the road and 3-6 at home. So a lot of it is those easy wins. Yep, Pittsburgh lost a lot of easy wins last year. So it's impossible to gauge if a team is going to choke those easy wins away. That's a very good point. The fucking Texans lost a lot of easy games. They should have beat the Lions because Jared Goff threw up all over himself, threw up 4 picks. They also, who did they lose to? Was it the Browns? No, they lost to the Titans, I think. It's like, why did you lose to the Titans? They were shitty as hell. But, it happens. Where teams just lose games they got no fucking business losing. And so that's why it's impossible. It's impossible for everybody. We all just predict shit. We don't fucking know. We have no fucking clue. None whatsoever. I'm doing this because I still, despite how shitty the fucking game is in a lot of ways, I still love football. And maybe I love gambling because I am gambling on this fucking fantasy football. And apparently there is some gambling, online gambling in Texas. And I damn near want to do that. So luckily, degeneracy keeps sports alive. So where are we at? South? So I had my bold prediction for the years that the Colts would make the playoffs. I actually did not follow through with that because they're not on my bracket. I didn't follow through with it. I mean, I guess this part could be this is like the last team. This isn't quite like a real NFL bracket, but it's the best I could do. I still think the Texans, who were my Super Bowl pick for the AFC, they are not anymore because of Joe Mixon's injury. Because I thought, well, they don't have the best offensive line, but if they still have Mixon, and then you have Chubb, and then you have Woody Marks, which maybe Woody Marks can step up and be what Joe Mixon was, and maybe that can still work. I still think they'll be the best defense in the league, but that offense, I'm like, man, do they have enough firepower? They got Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, and a bunch of rookies. Mid to terrible offensive line. Yeah, I like C.J. Stroud a lot. I think his quote-unquote sophomore slump was overstated. It wasn't as much of a sophomore slump as it was Tate Dale getting injured and Stephon Diggs getting injured. All those receivers got hurt. Every receiver he had got hurt last year. And the offensive line was trash, and they still made the playoffs. And Tate Dale's not expected to play this year. Doesn't mean he won't. We'll see what happens with him. But I feel like they're rightfully building this team to assume Tate Dale's not coming back to at least next year. We'll see. He had a terrible leg injury toward the end of the year. I think it was game 16 against the Chiefs, who they almost beat twice, both in the regular season and the playoffs. Still have them as one of the best teams in the league. I think they'll win probably 11 games. I want to pick them as my Super Bowl team again, the AFC. I know it's very homer. My Super Bowl teams initially were Lions versus Texans. I still kind of want to hold to that. I'm going to hold to that for the Lions, but that's because I'm from Detroit. But I'm going to pick the Bills. Spoiler alert for when we do the brackets. I might change my mind before then. We'll see. But as far as the AFC South, I'm going with still the Texans. My surprise Colts, who I want to have the balls to say they'll make the playoffs, but I don't quite have it. But I got them as the second best team. I think Daniel Jones, when he was in New York, they just blamed him for everything. The goddamn that fucking Hard Knocks. The fucking GM son told them what to do. Told them they should re-sign Saquon. Everybody knew they should have re-signed Saquon. Because they want to listen to ESPN. Quarterbacks is the most important thing. Just pay the quarterback. Pay the quarterback. Pay the quarterback. And so they gave Daniel Jones too much money, and their team was shitty. One day, teams will stop letting ESPN manage them and manage themselves. But until that day, you'll have situations like this. So as a result, everything that happened wrong with the New York Giants was blamed on Daniel Jones. The Colts had 3 800-yard receivers, as I mentioned. I'm not sure if everyone was here, but they had 3 receivers go for 800 yards. They have one of the best running backs in the league, and Jonathan Taylor. They got one of the better offensive lines, even though it got a little bit worse because some of those pieces moved around. Decent defense. I think they'll be better than at least the Jaguars and the Titans. They could be interchangeable with they still have a little bit of promise with this offense. Even though I think Trevor Lawrence, a.k.a. Sunshine from Remember the Titans, is a bit overrated, he'll still have 2 receivers that are pretty good, and Brian Thomas Jr. and much lauded rookie. And listen, I don't know what his baby mama. Well, he doesn't have a baby mama. He has a wife, and allegedly a child that's his. And Travis Hunter. I don't know what his gold digger wife situation is, but as long as he shows up, and if he's anything like he was in Colorado, they should be okay offensively. Still a lot to work with defensively, but they should do something. So I got them as a third team. Titans, I think, will be better than they were last year with Cam Ward, but he's a rookie. They did actually have a decent yardage defense. Titans should be dark blue. Bill Belichick should be the Colts' next head coach. I don't know about this. What is this morning craziness? I'm me talking about the NFL, Wade. Texans are not trash. Cap. Texans have one of the best defenses in the league, and I think they're going to be the best defense in the league. Pittsburgh, lost 4 easy wins. Love football. A little is even better with a longer. There you go. Seems like every state except the online gambling while blocking in-person gambling makes sense. Did watch the games last night. I haven't watched too much college because the pros don't start until Thursday, and we'll predict the pro games in a second. But yeah, this is how I have the South ranked. So about 11 wins. I'll go 8 or 9 for the Colts, 7-5 for the Jags, and same thing for the Titans, but I think they'll be a little worse. We done with the AFC? No, we didn't do the West. So the West, I wanted to put the Chargers, and when I did my video, I had the Chargers as the best team in Kansas City. I have no idea what's going on with this Najee Harris injury. I've heard that he may not play again. I heard he may play week 1. They have probably a better running back as the rookie Omari Hampton, but they also had an injury to the offensive line. And that is what worries me, and that's why they're back to the second best team. I think they'll make the playoffs as the Chargers, but unfortunately for everybody, the Chiefs will still be the team in the West. If I thought the refs were not going to cheat for the Chiefs, I might do something like this, where the Broncos were the best team. The Broncos have one of the best defenses in the league. They got a lot of promise on offense. I actually still, even though they're the third team in this division, still have them on my bracket, as a playoff team. But unfortunately, I'm going with what I think will happen, not with what I want will happen. And I actually think the Raiders will be a much improved team. I think this will be the toughest division or the most wins for any division in the league. So if you want to do a quick win, I would say maybe 12 wins for the Chiefs, maybe 11 wins for the Chargers, 10 or 11 wins for the Broncos, and maybe 8 or 9 wins for the Raiders. The Raiders have a lot. It's basically the Las Vegas Seahawks because they have The old coach. Oh my God, what's the fucking idiot who didn't get the ball to Marshawn Lynch? My brain just went dead on stream. Pete Carroll. They got that goof. They got Geno Smith, who, believe it or not, outside of Brock Purdy, is the best dollar for dollar quarterback you could get. They got Ashton Jeanty, another lauded rookie, who I think will make some noise. There's 3 running backs in this division who are rookies. Got Amarion Hampton, R.J. Harvey, and, of course, Ashton Jeanty. These will probably be 3 of the top rookie running backs in the league, and they're all in this division. So this is going to be a tougher division. The Raiders would not shock me for them to beat any of these teams. You know, they almost beat Kansas City twice. We're going back to bad teams and good teams. They were both. They lost to them in both, I think, in 1-score games last year. That was beat Kansas City twice last year. They had a worse team. So don't sleep on the Raiders. But they're not. You know, they are what they are. So I think we did all the AFC. So these are my division winners here. As far as the NFC, I think we did the East. Let's go to the North. We can do the North, the West, the South. Then we'll play some more. Play some Zombie Made, and then we'll maybe do my little playoff thing, and then we'll predict the week. Pete Carroll. Yep, thank you, Wade. Bill Belichick. That's right. He's coaching it. A.K.A. University of North Carolina. Bill Belichick, man. Yeah, I keep seeing the memes. Bill Belichick, if he never met Tom Brady, and he's like serving like Dunkin' Donuts or some shit, or he works at McDonald's. They got him in different uniforms. If he never met Tom Brady, he's like he's a fucking McDonald's manager. Listen, Bill Belichick's record without Tom Brady is fucking abysmal. It just is. I know a lot of people wanted to do this Brady versus Belichick debate. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. I think part of the reason New England was so bad last year was still Bill Belichick, because he did such a bad job of drafting. His legacy is going to be something else to really think of 10, 15 years. Like I don't think Tom Brady carried him, right? Because I was there, especially for some of those early championships. But boy, you're going to look at his legacy. You're going to look at that record without Tom Brady, and then he's probably going to fail at North Carolina. I don't know if he has the stomach to be a college coach, especially in this day and age with the NIL. And you're going to say, is this guy really that good of a coach, or was Tom Brady just carrying him? It is what it is. Belichick's girlfriend left the game to make it home to go to bed on time. She had to make her bedtime because she's like 15 or whatever. No, how old is she? Like 24? Yo, I'm not a judge. I don't judge people by age gap dating. I don't recommend it. Because my hat. No, I'm thinking. I don't think it works out for either party, man. Oh, that's really what she said. Oh boy, that's even worse. Man, the age gap dating, there's always a power structure, and usually if it's the old man and young woman, despite what the feminists will tell you, the young woman usually has the power. She did go to get her back blown out. And that's another thing. Who wants to be... Because listen, if you're an old sugar daddy, you know that she's fucking around. Bill Belichick knows. He might be like Vince. Vince liked to watch. Going back to the Vince McMahon case. He liked to watch. What's the point of doing that? He was paying for his girl to fuck other dudes and watch. It wouldn't shock me if Bill Belichick's doing the same thing. And in that one interview, if anybody remembers, and that's what let me know, like, Bill Belichick ain't running the goddamn thing in that relationship. She shut down some question that had something to do with them. She shut it down. And she's 24. That age gap dating shit is not a flex, bro, especially for no dude. You just a 70-year-old man having your life ran by some 24-year-old bimbo. You get what you fucking deserve, bro. You get what you fucking deserve. Watch highlights. They got a freshman QB who looked like a potential superstar. Crazy Samoan name. Keep an eye out. I see. I didn't see the highlight. I just kept seeing the thing, the memes. Dad went all in on the Broncos in fantasy. He got Knicks. I got Sutton because I went so heavy. I think I got RJ Harvey too. So I'm hoping for the Broncos to do well because I went crazy with running backs with fantasy on my last season. My home league is a mess because everybody drafted quarterbacks early. A couple teams drafted. So quarterbacks I ended up with Justin Fields as my quarterback. So I'm like hoping that was a wing and a prayer. And then I didn't really have any because I wanted to grab running backs. I didn't really get no receivers. I did get Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cortland Sutton. Those are my starting receivers. I wish I'd have got Bo Nix. It was a mad dash because home leagues never go like regular leagues. Everybody was drafting a bunch of quarterbacks, but they say you shouldn't do. But because of that, there was no quarterbacks available. It was a mess. And then my cousin went all in on the Lions. Pretty much all in. So I mean, I get it. It happens. But that's crazy. She went home to go, quote unquote, go. I guess she didn't get sleep. Yeah, it's like 80. He's gross. He's like 77 and she's 24, 25. It's like, but you know what? If that's what he wants, he gets what he called him Destiny. It just hit me. Like Destiny. Oh yeah, that one streamer dude. Yeah. Yeah, his old cuck. If that's what he wants, he gets what he deserves. I'm not saying, okay, I get as a 70-year-old man, you probably don't want a 70-year-old woman, but you can get a 40-year-old woman, late 30s. You know what I mean? And you can also maybe do something about your own shape so you don't look so raggedy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that I'm a date a 24-year-old. That's not a flex. You are paying hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to get ran by some dumb bimbo. I don't get it. I never will, man. Back to this. Let's talk about the NFC North. The North. Now, listen, man. I got a Lions rant. I'm about to go on fucking camera. And this is, wrong thing. This is something I may even clip out. I have a bone to pick with ESPN. Am I saying the Lions are going to be as good record-wise as they was last year? No. They're not. They're not winning 15 games. No way in hell. I didn't think they would win 15 games last year. I was shocked when they did it. I don't understand why so much is being made about our coordinators. The Eagles lost both of their coordinators before they went to the Super Bowl. They fired them both, right? In fact, as I mentioned earlier, Jalen Hurts has had a different offensive coordinator since he was in college. Every year. Every single year. And the Eagles haven't missed a boat. Same with the Bucs. They've had a different offensive coordinator every year the past, 3 or 4 years? And they won the division every year? Coordinators are important. I'm not saying that they have no importance. What are the teams? The Chiefs and the Bills have had recent coordinator changes. Remember, Eric Bieniemy was the greatest coordinator ever, right? Pepperidge Farr remembers a few years ago when they kept trying to hype up Eric Bieniemy. Turns out he really wasn't that good of a coach. And then, let's talk about they've had a few different coordinators for the Bills. Whether it was Dabo, I think who was a coordinator who was the current coach of the Giants, who might need to get fired. And who was the other coordinator they had left? I can't think of it offhand. But I don't understand why all these other teams can lose coordinators and still be good, but for some reason the Detroit Lions can't. And what it comes down to is Ben Johnson's overrated. And I'm not saying that he won't be a successful coach. That's to be seen, right? I actually think the Bears will have an improvement over last year, right? But because of how ESPN and a lot of these talking heads, including the idiot Colin Cowherd, are treating him, they are overrating him. They're not counting Brad Holmes, who was our GM, maybe the best GM in the league or one of. They're not counting our former defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, who was one of the better D coordinators in the league. They're not counting our head coach, Dan Campbell as competent. They are putting all of the past couple years of Lions success at the feet of Ben Johnson. The same guy who was up at the half in the NFC Championship game with two of the best running backs in the league and only ran the ball 5 or 6 times the rest of the game. Ben Johnson gets killed and fucks up games. His quarterback threw 3 picks a few days before he was made the Bears coach. I would have wanted to fire him if he didn't leave. Jared Goff routinely last year had to check out of his stupid-ass trick plays. Routinely, meaning every single fucking game, at least 1 or 2 times, Jared Goff is checking out of Ben Johnson doing some wacky-ass trick play. But you don't see this shit because you got to watch the games to know this shit. Also, we talk about fantasy. The Lions have what? 5 of the top 50 or 60 fantasy players? Because you got ARSB. You have 2 players in the top 10 with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs. J-Mo is a top 50 or 60 receiver, or as far as all players, right? And then same with D-Mon. You can't get him outside the 6th round. And obviously, quarterbacks can fall. But you talk about the offense where some of the best fantasy players are on the team, some of the best offensive players in the league. They literally have near Pro Bowl talent at every skill position. So yeah, the offensive coordinator can be replaced. It's not rocket science. I don't want to just totally bash Ben Johnson. He had a lot of good misdirection. He did run the ball a decent amount in the regular season at least. Oh yeah, that's another thing. He also was going against one of the worst rushing defenses with 2 running backs in the Washington game, and instead was throwing trick plays with Jameson Williams. That's another can of worms, right? He's not perfect. And I actually am worried about him being – I don't know if he's going to be the Sean McVay. I guess I'll put Kyle Shanahan, even though I'm worried about him a little bit. But the great offensive mind where he can lead a team, or is it going to be Mike McDaniel? We mentioned him in Miami. With Mike McDaniel, everybody's walking over that guy. Everybody walks over Mike McDaniel. Or is he going to do what Chip Kelly tried to do? And now he's got another chance to leave. He's in the Raiders. And I said the Raiders are going to be a good team. Chip Kelly and what's the guy from New England? He's their coordinator now again. Josh McDaniel. When they try to do fake tough guys, and then they fuck up the team because they don't really know what they're doing and they don't really have confidence, so they try to fake it until they make it. I don't know which direction he's going to go. Sean McVay was able to successfully lead teams despite being an offensive mind and the guy that didn't play. And those other guys who ended up coaches, I think Mike McDaniel's days are numbered. And, the other guys I don't think should ever be head coaches. I'm sorry I screamed. Turned down my speakers. It pisses me off. Ben Johnson's a good coordinator. He's not the only reason the Lions won. He's not going to be – the Bears are not going to make the playoffs. They're not. So I'm sorry for breaking everyone's speakers. Let's get back to this. The Lions are still going to win this division. Am I worried about the Packers with Micah Parsons? Long-term, yes. But he did have a back injury, which was legit. I was a little worried about that because a lot of players have injuries while they're holding out of their contract. But his injury seems to be legit. He did not play most of preseason or training camp. So it's going to take him a while to get acclimated to football shape and for that team. But long-term, I think he will help the Packers be a pretty good team. I got the Lions winning about 12 games, even though our division's tough and our schedule's tough. Got the Packers winning about 10 or 11. The Vikings, I like them more than the Bears. I think they'll win 9 games. I think the Bears are only going to win 7 or 8. They got a lot good. The Vikings and the Bears really did improve their offensive line a ton. I still feel like the Bears don't really have that great of skill positions. Going back to fantasy, I found myself not drafting anyone from the Bears outside of maybe their rookie tight end, Colston Loveland. Roma Dunze was, I think, a second-year player. I don't really believe in. DJ Moore was good when he was with the Panthers back in the day. But Caleb Williams, and I just don't believe in them off that. Like, I don't think they're that good. I know that there's a lot of improvement, at least on the offensive line. Maybe, listen, if Ben Johnson is who they think he is, he'll prove me wrong. They'll maybe be the third best team, maybe even the second. But I just don't see them. I still see them as a last place team, an improved last place team. Last year they only won 4 or 5 games. They'll win 7 or 8 games this time. But I still see them as a last place team. I don't think the skill position players are that good. I still think they need another off season like they had this year to compete with Green Bay and the Lions. It wouldn't shock me over the next few years to see Green Bay at this number 1 spot. They need some help with their skills positions. I mean, they got a great running back in Josh Jacobs. But receiver-wise, Matthew Golden is a rookie. He's going to have a big rookie year. Obviously, the Vikings have pretty good skill positions with Jefferson and Addison. Now, Addison is suspended, but they got my man Adam Thielen back from I think he was playing with the Panthers. He was decent with the Panthers. So he'll be decent for the first few games. And then they got 2 good running backs. Not only they got I know Jordan Mason is their secondary back. Who the fuck? Aaron Jones. So they got a pretty good running back field. I just don't feel like Chicago has the skill positions to keep up with the rest of the division. I don't think they have the talent there. I know they got a lot of improved talent. They are improved. Shout out to Swift, who used to play for the Lions and the Eagles, amongst other teams. I just don't think their talent is quite there. And again, man, there's going to be a game when Ben Johnson calls a trick play and it looks awesome and it works and they score a touchdown and everyone cheers. But there's also going to be a game when Ben Johnson calls a trick play and it looks like shit and you say, what the fuck are the Bears doing? What the fuck is Ben Johnson doing? He's not as smart as we think he is. He's a fucking idiot. And I don't know how Chicago fans are going to deal with him. Because as much as I can make fun of Caleb Williams, if we're talking about rookie quarterbacks, he had one of the best rookie quarterback years of all time and was treated like he's a fucking idiot and that he doesn't know what he is doing. Peyton Manning threw 28 picks his rookie year. Caleb Williams only threw 6. So the standards of this team and of this fan base, are they happy with 8 wins for the Bears? When I made the video about them, everyone, they'll win 10 or 11. They'll win the division. They'll do this. I don't think they're winning this division. I don't think they're better than the Packers, or I don't even think they're better than the Vikings. I don't think they're better than any of the top 3 teams. If they were in another division, would they fare better? Yeah. If they were in the South, could they be up here? I don't think they would get past the Bucks, but maybe they'd be better than the rest of these teams. Maybe. Well, I don't know about the Falcons because they got a lot of talent. But, they're not in the South. They're in the fucking North. So, they got to deal with the geography that is the divisions. So, it is what it is. So I'm not looking at your comments. I will look at them in a second. Sorry if I missed something important. I'm just going to the next. I'm going to get rid of these divisions so I can take an intermission, play some Zombie Main, and then predict for the week and get off the stream. So, this in my head has went the most crazy. It's the NFC West. Initially, I would have said the Rams. I would have probably even put Seattle above San Francisco. Hell, I would have even made, I don't trust the Cardinals. The Cardinals should have been a better team. The Cardinals really should have been winning this division the past few years with the talent they have. Kyler Murray can't be trusted. That's just the reality. They had the 1 year when they had D-Hop, but that's about it. That defense has been much improved. They got James Conner. Yeah, he could be injury prone, but they should have been better. But I'm picking this order. I'm picking San Fran to win this division. And I think San Francisco's, they have issues on offense. A lot of people just because they're brain dead. They're injuries. People are coming back from injury. They'll just be better. It's like, well, what people? The offense is not the same. Debo's not there anymore. Brandon Ayuk is hurt. You know what I'm saying? And yes, you have CMC, but you can't use CMC like you were using him a couple years ago. He'll get hurt again. He's at a different point in his career, and you got to adjust to that. But they kind of have. They traded for Brian Robinson, which told me they're not going to kill CMC, which means he has a better chance of being healthy throughout the year, which means he'll still be productive throughout the year. And the Rams, as much as I love them and want to, shout out Matthew Stafford, he has a back issue. And so you say, is he going to stay healthy and upright the whole year? Because I don't think he is. So as a result, even though I would have probably picked the Rams to win this division, I kind of can't. I kind of have to pick San Francisco. Now you could argue, well, what about Seattle? What if Sam Darnold could repeat what he did last year for Minnesota? That's a good point. He could. They got Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'm hoping he has a big year because he's, again, my fantasy receiver. They got Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, so they got kind of a 1-2 punch at running back. They're improving defense. They got a couple of defensive edges. As Jabba Labba pointed out when I made my video, that they got a rookie that's coming along. So could they be the surprise team? Could they be the second or the number one team if San Fran isn't there? It wouldn't shock me for them to step up. They were 10-7 last year, so they already won 10 games. They didn't make the playoffs, but they won 10 games. Yeah, a lot of that talent went to the Raiders, and then DK went to the Steelers. But they still got a decent core, especially as far as that defense. So it wouldn't shock me. They could win this division. But I'm gonna go with this order. I still believe in the Rams. They also still got Jared Verse and still got some talent on defense. So this is what I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick San Fran, the Rams, Seattle, and then the Cardinals. They'll still probably win 8 or 9 games. They just, Kyler Murray's just not the guy. Him and Trevor Lawrence, man, they just aren't the guys. I don't know what to tell you. I wish they were. And then Kyler really isn't the same runner he used to be. I know he's had some injuries and things, so I don't want to just totally bash him, but it just is what it is. And then this division is pretty straightforward. I don't see any way the Saints are the worst team in the league. These are the last teams. Maybe the Browns. But, I mean, the Saints should probably be the worst team. Shout out to, keep pounding, pause. Carolina Panthers. I lived in Charlotte for some years. I like Carolina. Shout out to Bojangles. Could they pass up? I mean, they had a decent ending to their season. You would like to think they can ride that wave a little further, but that defense still sucks. The offense will be better. They did just trade Adam Thielen, but they also have a great rookie wide receiver in Ted McMillan. But I don't think they have the talent that the Falcons do. Even though Bryce has played a lot more than Michael Penix, I still trust Michael Penix. Even in his few games, he looked pretty good those 3 games. I think the owner / GM wanted to see a lot more of Kirk Cousins last year, so they kept him in longer than they should have. Had they went to Michael Penix earlier in the year, maybe they actually won this division instead of the Bucs, because they were able to sweep the Bucs with Kirk Cousins. They have Darnell Mooney, they have Bijan Robinson, they have Drake London, they have, love him or hate him, Kyle Pitts. They have a formidable offensive roster. I think they'll be the second best team. Could they be good enough to be a wild card team? I don't have them in my bracket as a playoff team, but it wouldn't shock me for them to be good enough to sneak into the wild card. But I think the Bucs are going to win this division. They got Baker Mayfield, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. For whatever it's worth, they got trusty, reliable Mike Evans. Now, Chris Godwin is hurt, but they drafted themselves a pretty good receiver in Emeka Ibuka, who's supposed to help. And then they had a good receiver, but I think he might be hurt, Jalen McMillan. I think he might be hurt. but I still think they got enough talent. Plus, they got Vita Vale defense. They got enough talent. I still think they'll win this division. So this is my rankings with Buffalo winning the division, and I think the AFC outright. Chiefs being right there, winning their division. Baltimore, then the Texans. As far as the AFC teams, NFC teams winning the division, you got Philadelphia, San Fran. I think the Lions will win the North, and the Bucks will win the South. SOUF South. So let me actually switch to this and look at you guys' comments. I did not mean to ignore you, but I just wanted to get through all this stuff. He's like, yeah, that's he talking about the Phil Belichick thing. He dresses like he's a college football player, not a 70s. Yeah, he's with all these hoodies. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, wearing headphones. I screamed. I am so sorry about that. Again, Tomlin spent. Move this around. Tomlin spent most of last season skipping easy points for big points. Fucked up so many games, lost by 6 points. Yeah, they did lose a lot of clean games. All right, Jabba Labba has to go. Peace out, Jabba. Again, sorry for screaming. That was the biggest thing. Me screaming about. I keep hearing. I think it's very annoying when ESPN makes a point and then a bunch of people parrot it. So anytime I hear the Lions talk about, well, they lost both of their coordinators, so they might take a step back. And I've never heard this talking point ever for all these teams, all these different franchises who have lost coordinators over the years. I have never heard this talking point spammed so much as it has been for the Lions. So sorry for screaming. This is my only outlet. I'm screaming into an empty void, right? Because I got the few people who watch this, I'll probably clip this out. But it just pisses me off that people just keep saying the same talking point, despite there being evidence, plenty of evidence that a team can survive losing their offensive coordinator. Hey, Brandon Oliver, I was hoping you showed up since we're talking about football. I just did my different divisional picks and my predictions for the year. These episodes will be shorter going forward because I really will just be recapping the last week and then predicting the next week. I won't, I may, keep up with the playoffs and whatnot, or what I do. Ooh, what the hell? Am I still? Yeah, there I am. Okay, I have. I wanted to download where my rankings are, so I just download this tier. Is it gonna show? I can't see. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So my rankings are immortalized. I have them downloaded. So let's go over my little playoff bracket real quick. Actually, you know what? No. Let's listen to some Zombie Man. Let's take a break. Let's take a quick break. Let's play some Zombie Man, and then I will be back. Hold on a second. So there's my bracket. There is. Oops. And then there's another song. And Zombie Man's probably already gone. But it is what it is. We got a couple Zombie Man songs. We will play those, and then I will be back. And I get to take a quick break. So now I'm gone. Here's Zombie Man for my B. And I'll be back.
fucking beat.
Zombie on the fucking beat as usual. For my beat, I like that track. I hope he's still here. He probably isn't. But we're still playing. This is the interlude. We're about to probably get close to wrapping this up. I'll talk about my playoff bracket, and then we'll predict this week's games, which will be more in line with what this podcast / stream will be going forward. But hey, if Zombie Man's gonna provide interludes, we'll definitely keep that part of it as well. Maybe play my own music as well. We'll see. Another trance thing. It's a demo. Two Hollis type beat. I am old, so I don't know who Two Hollis is. But we'll see how this sounds by Zombie Man. Right. I'm back. That was another trance thing. My Zombie Man, who I don't think he's here, but Cotton Ministries is. Hey, we're talking about your favorite subject, the NFL, which is not your favorite subject. As you've said, and as they've said multiple times now, the NFL's gay. But, and they're evil. They definitely are evil. But here I am still talking about them for whatever it's worth. Is this a yeesh? Uh-oh. What the hell? Hold on a second. I'm trying to put my face in a great place. Keep moving me around. So this is my playoff bracket. It's not the most elegant thing because it didn't quite work. I already went through my division winners. That was what most of this podcast has been. And so what's the rest of the playoffs? So as far as the AFC, I got the Bills as the number one team. The intention was to have, actually, I'm not sure how this is supposed to be ranked. The Chiefs, even though I think I misspelled the Chiefs, are probably going to be the second best team. Maybe the Texans the third. So it's not necessarily ranked second, third, whatever, but it's just by division winners. Actually, I probably have the Texans as the last division winner. So I think how it should be ranked is Bills number 1, Chiefs 2, Ravens 3, Texans 4, and then Steelers 5, Chargers 6, and Broncos 7 as far as the AFC. And if I were to keep the roster, let's just do the AFC. So let's start tournament. Okay, started. I'm just gonna put, just for the purpose of getting through this and not taking all the time. Who do I pick between the Texans and Steelers? I'm picking the Texans. I know that sucks. If the Steelers make the playoffs and lose again, Tomlin will and probably should be fired, and that's probably what's gonna happen. So I've got the Texans because I'm pretty high on the Texans. But let's keep this going. Who will win this? Would it shock me if the Chargers win? There's something about really the Ravens and the Bills where, to me, both teams have this this mental thing about winning in the playoffs. But luckily, the Justin Herbert has a worse thing. So I'll pick the Ravens if we get here. Chiefs, Broncos. I want to pick an upset and say the Broncos. They know the division. They know the Chiefs. The Chiefs really should have a Super Bowl or post Super Bowl slide. But the refs propped them up, and that horror has just been proposed to. So they're probably going to push the Chiefs. Then we go to this division. Now, honestly, I got to make a decision right now who I think is going to win the Super Bowl or represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. One thing is the Bills usually have issues with the Texans because Josh Allen is a gunslinger. And as a result of a gunslinger, you're about to watch Kill Tony instead watch me. I feel honored. We're not going to be going too much longer, probably another half hour max. But I appreciate that. And shout out to Kill Tony. Shout out to he has a show later on today too. AJ, who was former contestant on Kill Tony. But yeah, the Bills have a habit of losing to the Texans, but I feel like they're the team that they want to represent the AFC because they have the easiest schedule, and no good team has a schedule as easy as the Bills. But I can't help but to feel like the Texans, if they saw them in the playoffs, would beat them. So because I have this bracket up, I'm going with the Texans. And so I might as well just, I got to do this. So Ravens can't beat the Chiefs. It's in their head. It's in their head. So I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going back to my Super Bowl pick. I'm going to pick the upset in the AFC Championship game. I'm going to Texans as the AFC representative. I'm basically going my old pick. So, I'm picking the Lions. Lions against the Vikings. I see the Redskins pulling the upsets. Got to be some upsets, right? And I can see Green Bay beating San Fran as well. And in fact, I'm going to predict Green Bay to upset the Eagles. And the Eagles did living like us last year. Where you get to the playoffs, you get the bye, but you don't win the game. And then I think we'll avenge the loss in which that happened, the Lions against the Redskins. I know I should be calling the Commanders, but it is what it is. And then we'll end up for the divisional, if this bracket was the thing, a divisional championship game, and we'll beat them. We'll beat the Green Bay Packers, and I'm picking the Lions to win the Super Bowl. This is my bracket. This is my prediction. And I'm going to hold myself to it. Let's save this. This bracket at HQ. I'm holding myself to this. I will go through my predictions week by week and tell you what I fucked up. I will go through my predictions at the end of the year and see where I fucked up. I'm not going to do like they do on every other fucking program. The Cardinals. The year hasn't started. I'm predicting them to be last place in the division, though. This is me using. I'm predicting who's in the playoffs. The first game is coming up. It's coming up. The first game is Thursday. Second game is Friday. As far as the team, because we open with Dallas and Philly on Thursday, and then they have a game Friday. I think that's in Brazil with the Chargers and the Chiefs. But these are our predictions. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. I think the Cardinals should be a better team, but I don't believe in their quarterback, Kyler Murray. He has a way of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And so I just don't believe in him. I think the defense is going to be improved. And also that whole Marvin Harrison Jr. thing where they just kept, instead of running the routes that Marvin Harrison ran in college, they just kept throwing them fades and it didn't work, but they just kept doing it. And so I was like, well, I don't know if this team is smart enough to maximize its talent. So I'm predicting them to be like, but I could be wrong. I'm just an asshole on the internet. But I will hold myself to these predictions. I will check up on this. So let's see. Let's actually, since we're here, let's do game by game. Now, I'm not going to hold myself to these scores, right? But I am going to hold myself to, because, I'm just going to predict what team I think is going to win. I think it's fairly easy to see Philadelphia winning this first game. It probably won't be by this close of a score. They got 19-16. It'll probably be a blowout. I think Philadelphia is going to blow Dallas out the water. I think Dallas is going to be one of the worst teams in the league. This game, you know what? I'll pick the Chargers. Now, they're not really at home. They're in Brazil. And I think the Chiefs will end up with a better record. But I'm going to go ahead and pick the Chargers. There's got to be some Super Bowl low. I really want to pick the Chargers to win the division, but with the injury to their offensive line, and maybe that's why I should pick the Chiefs instead. But we'll go with the Chargers. Technically, the Falcons have beat Tampa Bay 2 straight times. The videos critiquing Kyler Murray explains a lot. Yeah, I haven't even done a video about. I did do a video about Arizona Cardinals. They're one of the teams I didn't get to. And yes, Minnesota Vikings have gay cheerleaders, which I think other teams do too. But they got known for theirs. Because there's a few teams with male cheerleaders that became a thing where they start to analyze that. I'm not watching football for the gay cheerleaders. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But it's not mine. As far as the team, but the NFL said it. NFL's gay. That was what they said. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep the prediction train going. Tampa Bay, Atlanta. This is close. You know what? They're at home. They're the home opener. They beat this team twice. I'll predict the upset with Atlanta. If the Bengals don't beat the Browns, they ought to kill themselves. The Browns are trash. There's no hope. I think this is actually going to be a shootout, but I think the Bengals should win. I think the Colts will win against the Dolphins. I'm predicting that Mike McDaniel might be fired at the midpoint of the year. That team doesn't respect him. The Colts are my kind of shock team to be a lot better than what they were last year, and to make some noise. I think Carolina is better than Jacksonville, so I'm going to pick them. I could be wrong, but I think they're the better team of the two. I know they're both Southern teams. I know they're both teams that are on the rise, but I feel like despite being a younger quarterback, I believe in Bryce a little bit more than I believe in Trevor Lawrence. We'll see what happens with Travis Hunter. Maybe he can step up and really make this team formidable, at least offensively. But I trust in Carolina a little bit more than Jacksonville. I don't really see much in Jacksonville. Patriots surprised the Niners. A lot of people are picking the Niners, right? I got the Niners in the playoffs, right? And I got the Niners as my number one team out of their division. I think they'll win a division. I just feel like there's better teams than the Niners. A lot of people are picking the Niners to win it all. Patriots, I think, are going to be improved. I got them as the second, maybe the Colts. Uh-oh, what's going on here? I think OBS is trying to crash. Please don't crash, OBS. Oh, no. Okay. Hopefully it didn't dox me. But, the Patriots and the Niners are, I could be wrong. I think they'll both be good teams. I don't necessarily think they'll be the best. I got the Niners making the playoffs, the Patriots getting close but not quite there. But it wouldn't shock me if the Patriots made the playoffs. I think they'll both be solid teams. Speaking of which, Patriots are the next game. Patriots and the Raiders. So I think the Raiders will be a much improved team. I think they'll win 8 or 9 games, but I don't think this is going to be one of them. I'm going with the Patriots to win their home opener and start off the season with some thing. Now, here's your Cardinals against the Saints. If they don't beat the Saints, they're going to be worse than I think they are. I think they will, though. I think they'll beat the Saints on the road. I don't think the Saints are going to have any hope for anything except getting the number 1 pick. That's all the Saints are in. They're on the clock. They're not going to be a good team. The Jets and the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is interesting because I don't know what either team is going to be. Like, I picked the Jets to not do that well, but they could be one of those run the ball, stop the run, play solid defense, don't turn the ball over teams that win 10 or 11 games. And that's really what Pittsburgh wants to do. So, or they both could miss the playoffs because there's not enough offensive firepower. I do not feel confident in this pick either way. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. But it wouldn't shock me if the Jets won. It wouldn't be shocked at all. Giants and the Redskins / Commanders. The Commanders should beat the Giants. Even though the Giants are going to be a better team than a lot of people think, they should lose. And then, same here. Denver should beat Tennessee. There should be no issues. I know it's the first game of the season and everyone's 0-0, but they're not equal. Now, this is going to be interesting. Seattle at home against San Fran, even though Seattle hasn't really taken advantage of their home field advantage last year. You know what? I'm picking mostly home teams. Okay, I'll go with San Fran just to keep the home team thing. And I'm not picking against the Lions all year. I'll be wrong, I'm sure, some of it, but I'm just not picking against the Lions. I'm just not doing it. I will pick against the Texans. This week I'm not, though. I'm still worried about until I see Matt Stafford play well this season, I'm going to be worrying if he's too old. There's a lot of worry about Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers, rightfully so. But I'm worried about Stafford as well. Baltimore and the Bills. This is a tough one. You know what, man? I'm going to go with the Bills. They beat them in the playoffs. I know a lot of times the opposite happens in the first regular season game, but they are at home. Baltimore has this thing. To me, sometimes Baltimore just loses against teams they shouldn't lose to. I'm not saying the Bills are one of those teams. I know Baltimore packed us up when they played against us last year. They will play against us this year, but I'm going to still pick the Lions even if I'm scared to. This one could go either way. I'm not that confident, but I'm gonna just go ahead and pick Buffalo. Even though I think the Bills are a slightly better team, I think there's something in the Bills' mentality that makes them worse than than a lot of teams that they face. And then I'm gonna pick Minnesota because I think Minnesota is a better team than Chicago. Now they may split these games. Chicago can win this game. You know, as much as I talk my shit and screamed and ranted and raved about Ben Johnson, but you know, these picks will ideally get better as I go along and watch more games. You can actually see who's good and who's not. A lot of this is going off of last year. I mean, yeah, I don't feel like there's a couple, you know, the Browns and the Saints. I mean, I don't feel like I'm crazy to pick those teams to lose. But, you know, some of these teams can go either way. So this is what we'll go. Was there a way of saving this? I don't know. Huh. I don't think I have a way of saving it. So I'll just have to go back to sign it. Anything? Oh well. I'll predict next week. Oh well. So yeah, I don't know if there's a way of saving it, but I'll try to hold myself accountable for what I got right. In the as far as these picks, because that's one thing that bothers me, man. When you watch ESPN, they can make the most outlandish predictions. They never tell you, hey, what were we right? You'll never hear, this is what we predict this time last year. They never do that. They never tell you if they fucked up. They'll never tell you if they were totally off base with something. They never hold themselves accountable, and I want to do that when I cover sports. But yeah, that's my video. Almost 2 hours of NFL action. These videos won't be as long. I'll try to do them sometime Tuesday, maybe in the morning, preferably the morning. I'll try to recap the games from the last week and then come up with my predictions for this week. Obviously, I did a lot more playoff stuff and then talked a little bit about teams that I weren't able to talk to or wasn't able to talk about in the videos. I got 22 videos out of 32 teams. That's pretty good. That sounds about right. They're better than Pittsburgh in the standings. Then you guys are talking about UNC and Brandon Holloman mentioned them. As far as college, you know, Bill Belichick has the record he has without Tom Brady. He has the record, and it's not good. And I don't think he should have even went to be a college coach. But I don't think anybody wanted to deal with him as a pro coach. So he's made that bed. He has to lay in it. You can argue how good or bad of a coach he was. Had one of the best players in the league his whole year. Or most of his career. Did a lot of unscrupulous things as far as recording practices and whatnot. And then outside of that, you know, was kind of a mediocre coach. But with Tom Brady and with the whole Patriot way thing, was able to be a great coach. Now he's dating a chick that's old enough to be his granddaughter and leading the team probably nowhere. So we will see how that goes. I'm not going to pay too much attention to college. Otherwise, let's see what else. You said they're better Pittsburgh in the standings. We'll see how this goes. I'll try to tell you what I predicted last year. That means I got to watch the end of these videos to know, or last week. So next week we'll review what I predicted and see what actually happened, and then we'll make the prediction for the week after. NFL cards. Oh yeah, there's the Arizona Cardinals and there's also the St. Louis Cardinals. Shout out to St. Louis. But in any event, we're going to get out of here. So, if you like the video, please like the video. If you're so obliged to share and subscribe, please do that. Even if you do none of these things, thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Good night. God bless. I'll talk to all you guys later. Peace to the Middle East, if ever a thing should occur. All right. Peace out.